Commander James Chen stood at the window of Earth's Defense Academy, watching the silver shuttle land. His dark eyes narrowed as the ship's doors opened with a soft hiss. This was not a normal assignment, and he knew it. "Commander, the alien delegate has arrived," his assistant, Sarah, called from the doorway. Her voice held a mix of excitement and nervousness that seemed to spread through the entire building. James nodded, straightening his black uniform. At 32, he was the youngest combat training commander in the Academy's history. He had trained hundreds of soldiers, but never an alien. The door to his office opened, and two guards walked in with the Asteri girl between them. James's first thought was that she glowed. Literally, her pale blue skin had patterns of light that moved like waves under the surface. Her white hair floated as if underwater, and her large, silver eyes blinked at him curiously. "Commander Chen," she said, her voice musical but clear. "I am Lyra of House Starweaver." She tried to bow like a human, but the movement was stiff and awkward. James kept his face neutral, though he was impressed she had learned human greetings. "Welcome to Earth's Defense Academy. I understand you're seeking citizenship." "Yes," Lyra said, lifting her chin. "My people's peaceful faction has chosen Earth as sanctuary. I must prove my worth." The lights under her skin flickered faster, showing her nervousness despite her confident words. James walked around his desk, studying her. She was tall for a female, almost his height, but looked delicate. The reports said her species had enhanced agility, but struggled with Earth's gravity. Why combat training? Surely there are easier paths to citizenship. Lyra's silver eyes met his directly. "Because I must learn to defend myself and others. My father believed in peace, but he died because he couldn't fight back when the Empire attacked our home." Her voice didn't shake, but the lights under her skin dimmed to a soft blue. Something in her determination reminded James of himself as a young cadet. He picked up a training staff from the wall and tossed it to her. Lyra caught it, but the weight made her stumble. "Earth's gravity is challenging," she admitted, straightening up with visible effort. "Show me your fighting stance," James ordered, taking another staff. Lyra moved into a position that looked nothing like any human combat style. Her feet were too close together, her grip on the staff awkward. But there was grace in her movement, even as she struggled with the weight. "Your species has natural defenses, correct?" James asked, slowly circling her. "Yes, we can emit bright flashes to disorient opponents." As if to demonstrate, the patterns under her skin brightened suddenly. "But your facilities are too well lit for it to be effective." James nodded. "Then you'll need to learn new ways to fight." He moved suddenly, bringing his staff toward her in a slow arc. Lyra tried to block but was too slow. The staff stopped an inch from her shoulder. "I would be dead now," she said quietly. "Yes, but tomorrow you'll be faster." James stepped back, seeing a flash of surprise in her silver eyes. "You accept me as your trainer? You'll really teach me? Even though I'm so different?" James allowed himself a small smile. "Different isn't always bad. Report here tomorrow at sunrise. Earth time," he added quickly, seeing her confusion. "We'll start with basic movements and work up to combat techniques." Lyra's skin brightened with what he was learning to recognize as happiness. She bowed again, more smoothly this time. "Thank you, Commander Chen." As she left with the guards, James watched the patterns of light that trailed in her wake. This would be his most unique challenge yet, but something told him it would also be the most interesting. He didn't know then how right he was, or how this strange alien girl would change his life forever. The training room echoed with the sound of Lyra falling again. Her glowing skin flickered with frustration as she pushed herself up from the mat for the 10th time that morning. "Your center of gravity is too high," James said, extending his hand to help her up. "Try widening your stance." Lyra took his hand, noting how warm human skin felt compared to her own. "On my world, we move differently. The lower gravity lets us." She demonstrated a graceful spinning motion, her hair floating around her face. "That's your problem," James said, crossing his arms. You're still moving like you're on your homeworld. You need to adapt to Earth's gravity. The morning sun streamed through the high windows of the training room, making Lyra's skin shimmer. She had been on Earth for 2 weeks now, and every morning was the same. Hours of basic movements that left her muscles aching. Again, James ordered, moving into a fighting stance. Remember what I taught you about ground connection? Lyra mimicked his stance, trying to feel the earth beneath her feet like he had explained. This time, when James threw a slow punch, she managed to dodge without falling. Better. For the first time that morning, James smiled. Your natural agility is starting to work with Earth's gravity instead of against it. The praise made the lights under Lyra's skin pulse brighter. She quickly dimmed them, remembering how humans found sudden flashes distracting. Sorry, she mumbled. Don't be, James said, surprising her. You're bioluminescence. It shows your emotions, right? That's useful in training. I can see when you're frustrated or confident. Lyra blinked her silver eyes. Most humans ask me to control it better. I'm not most humans. James picked up 2 training staffs. Now show me that defensive move we practiced yesterday. They worked through the morning, James gradually increasing the speed of his attacks as Lyra improved. By midday, she could block most of his slow strikes, though the faster ones still caught her off guard. During their water break, Lyra noticed James watching her curiously. What is it? Your fighting style, he said. When you forget to think about it, you move differently. Not quite human, not quite Asteri. It's interesting. Is that bad? James shook his head. It's unique. Maybe instead of forcing you to fight exactly like a human, we can create something new. A style that uses your Asteri abilities but works in Earth's gravity. Lyra's skin brightened with excitement. You would do that? Create a new style just for me? Why not? The best warriors adapt and evolve. James stood up, twirling his staff. Show me one of your traditional Asteri defensive forms. Slowly. Lyra demonstrated, her movements fluid despite the gravity. James watched carefully, then nodded. Now let's combine that with the earth technique I showed you. Instead of fighting against gravity, use it to power your movements. They spent the rest of the session experimenting, mixing Asteri grace with human strength. By the end, Lyra was tired but happy. She had fallen less today than any previous session. Good work, James said as they finished. Tomorrow we'll continue developing this hybrid style. As Lyra walked to the door, she turned back. Commander Chen, thank you for not trying to make me fight exactly like a human. James's dark eyes met her silver ones. You're not human, Lyra. The goal isn't to change who you are, but to help you become stronger while staying true to yourself. The lights under Lyra's skin pulsed softly with an emotion she couldn't quite name. As she left the training room, she realized something had changed today. Commander Chen wasn't just her instructor anymore. He was becoming her friend. The moon was high in the sky when James found Lyra in the training room. She wasn't supposed to be there so late, but he had noticed the lights on during his nightly security check. Lyra, he called softly. She jumped, spinning around. In the darkness, her glowing skin cast soft blue light across the room. Commander Chen, I was just practicing. But James noticed something strange. The training dummy in front of her had scorch marks on it. What were you really doing? Lyra's skin dimmed with worry. After a long moment, she sighed. I should show you. You're my trainer, and I've been keeping a secret. She turned to face the dummy, raising her hand. James watched in amazement as energy gathered around her fingers, forming a small ball of light. With a quick motion, she sent it flying at the dummy. The energy burst on impact, leaving another scorch mark. Energy manipulation, she explained quietly. All Asteri nobles learn it, but we're forbidden to show outsiders. Instead of being angry about the secret, James looked fascinated. Can you control how strong it is? Lyra nodded, creating another energy ball, smaller this time. The more emotional energy I put into it, the stronger it becomes, but it's harder to control then. That's why you've been sneaking in at night to practice, James said, understanding now. You're trying to combine it with the combat moves I taught you. Yes, but I'm having trouble. The energy responds to emotion, but your fighting style requires calm focus. James walked over to the weapons rack and picked up 2 staffs. Then let's work on it together. Show me everything. For the next hour, Lyra demonstrated her energy abilities while James watched and asked questions. He learned that all Asteri could create light, but only nobles could form it into energy attacks. Your people are full of surprises, James said, dodging an energy blast. Why keep this hidden? Lyra caught the staff he threw at her. The Empire believes showing outsiders our abilities makes us vulnerable. But she hesitated. I trust you. James felt something warm in his chest at those words. Okay, let's try something. When you fight with energy, you're graceful and confident. When you fight with the staff, you're strong but stiff. Let's combine them. He positioned himself behind her, adjusting her grip on the staff. Channel your energy through the staff instead of your hands. Lyra closed her silver eyes, concentrating. The staff began to glow with the same blue light as her skin. When she opened her eyes, the entire staff was charged with energy. Now move through the form I taught you yesterday, James instructed, stepping back. Lyra began the sequence of movements, the glowing staff leaving trails of light in the air. Each strike was stronger, enhanced by her energy, but controlled by the human fighting techniques she had learned. Perfect, James called out. You've created something entirely new. Lyra finished the form and turned to him, her face glowing with happiness. I couldn't have done it without your help. You trusted me with your secret, James said. I'd say that makes us even. They spent the rest of the night practicing with her new energy-enhanced fighting style. When the sun began to rise, they finally stopped, both tired but satisfied. Same time tomorrow night, James asked, surprising himself. Lyra's skin pulsed with joy. You want to continue the night training? Of course. A good teacher adapts to their students' needs. He smiled at her. Besides, I want to see what else you can do. As they left the training room together, both knew their relationship had changed again. They weren't just teacher and student, or even just friends. They were partners, working together to create something unique in the universe. The emergency alarm woke James at midnight. Red lights flashed through the Academy's corridors as he rushed to the command center. Inside, the Academy's leaders stood around a large screen showing a message from the Asteri Empire. Commander Chen, General Roberts called him over. This concerns your student. The message was clear and threatening. The Empire demanded the return of Lady Lyra of House Starweaver, claiming she had been kidnapped by rebels. They gave Earth 48 hours to comply, or they would consider it an act of war. That's ridiculous, James said. Lyra chose to come here. She's seeking citizenship. The Empire claimed she was brainwashed. The general's face was grim. They're sending a ship to collect her. James's hands tightened into fists. Sir, with respect, we can't hand her over. She's not just a student anymore. He stopped himself. The general gave him a sharp look. She's what, Commander? She's under Earth's protection, James finished carefully. And she knows things about the Empire that we need to hear. After a tense discussion, James got permission to speak with Lyra. He found her in the training room, her skin pulsing with anxiety as she practiced her energy forms. You've heard? She asked when he entered. Yes, the Empire wants you back. James walked closer. Lyra, what aren't you telling me? Why are they really after you? Lyra's silver eyes met his. Because I know their plans. The Empire isn't just coming for me. They're planning to invade Earth. My father discovered this before they killed him. James felt his blood run cold. Are you sure? She nodded, creating a small energy ball in her hand. The Empire fears Earth because you're different. Humans adapt too quickly, learn too fast. They think if they don't stop you now, humans will become too strong to control. That's why you really came here, isn't it? Not just for sanctuary, but to warn us. Yes. Lyra's skin dimmed with sadness. But I also came because I wanted to learn, to become stronger. I never expected. She looked at him, her skin flickering with colors he'd never seen before. James stepped closer. Never expected what? Before she could answer, alarms blared again. A voice over the speakers announced that an Asteri ship had entered Earth's atmosphere ahead of schedule. "They're not waiting 48 hours, James said grimly. "We need to prove your story about the invasion plans. Do you have evidence?" Lyra touched the crystal pendant around her neck. "My father's research is stored in here, but only an Asteri noble can access it. Then we need to get this information to Earth's leaders before the Empire's ship lands." James grabbed his combat gear. "Are you with me?" Lyra's skin brightened with determination. "Always." They ran through the Academy's corridors, heading for the command center. As they ran, James realized how much Lyra had changed from the awkward alien girl who first arrived. Her movements were sure now, combining Asteri grace with human strength. "James," she said suddenly, using his first name for the first time. "If something happens, I want you to know that meeting you has been the best part of coming to Earth." James wanted to respond, but they had reached the command center doors. "Tell me later," he said, "when this is all over." Lyra nodded, her skin pulsing with an emotion that matched the one in his own heart. Together, they pushed open the doors, ready to fight for their future and Earth's. The command center was silent as Lyra's crystal pendant projected her father's research into the air. Holographic images showed detailed plans of the Empire's invasion fleet, their weapons, and their strategies for attacking Earth. "This evidence is clear," General Roberts said after viewing everything. "The Empire never intended peace with Earth." James stood close to Lyra, watching her skin pulse with nervous energy. She had just revealed everything her father died protecting, and now they waited to see how Earth would respond. "The Empire's ship will land in 6 hours, the general continued. "We need to prepare our defenses. Commander Chen, you and Lady Lyra know the most about their combat capabilities. I want you both to help plan our strategy." As they walked to the strategy room, Lyra suddenly stumbled. James caught her arm, steadying her. "You okay?" he asked softly. "Just tired. Using the crystal takes a lot of energy." Her skin was dimmer than usual, but where his hand touched her arm, small pulses of light appeared. James noticed several officers watching them with curious expressions. He quickly let go of her arm, but the damage was done. People had noticed how close they'd become. In the strategy room, they spent hours planning Earth's defense. Lyra explained the Empire's weaknesses while James suggested ways to use Earth's military against them. They worked perfectly together, finishing each other's thoughts and building on each other's ideas. During a short break, James found Lyra alone in the corridor. "We need to talk," he said quietly. Lyra's skin flickered with nervous patterns. "About the invasion." "About us." James looked around to make sure they were alone. "People are starting to notice something between us." "Oh." The lights under Lyra's skin formed complex patterns he'd never seen before. "Is that bad?" "I don't know. Humans have never. I mean, there's never been a human and an Asteri in love." Lyra said the word he couldn't. James felt his heart skip. "Is that what this is?" Instead of answering, Lyra created a small ball of energy in her hand. It pulsed with the same pattern as the lights under her skin. "Among my people, we show our deepest feelings through our light. Each pattern means something different." She held up the energy ball. "This pattern, we only show it to our soulmate." James stared at the beautiful swirling lights. "How long have you been showing this pattern around me?" "Since that night you helped me combine my energy with your fighting style." Lyra's silver eyes met his. "I tried to hide it, But it's getting harder. Slowly, carefully, James reached out and touched the energy ball. Instead of burning him like her combat energy, it felt warm and gentle. "I'm not afraid of showing how I feel," he said. "But the timing. With the Empire coming, you mean?" Lyra let the energy fade. "I understand. We should focus on defending Earth." But as she turned to leave, James caught her hand. Her skin brightened at his touch. "Lyra, wait. Maybe this is exactly what both our peoples need to see. That humans and Asteri can not only work together, but love each other," she finished, hope making her skin glow brighter. Before James could respond, alarms blared through the building. A voice announced that the Empire's ship had suddenly accelerated. It would arrive in 1 hour, not 6. They looked at each other, both knowing this moment had to wait. Without words, they ran back to the strategy room, ready to defend Earth together. But something had changed. They were no longer just trainer and student, or even just allies. They were something new in the universe, a human and an Asteri who had found love across the stars. The Empire's ship hung in the sky like a dark cloud, twice the size of Earth's largest vessels. In the Academy's defense center, James and Lyra prepared for battle with a mixed team of human soldiers and Asteri refugees. "Remember your training," James told the team. "We combine human strength with Asteri energy techniques. Fight together, not alone." Lyra stood beside him, her combat suit modified to leave her glowing skin exposed. The patterns under her skin showed determination and courage, inspiring both humans and Asteri. "They're sending dropships," someone called out. On the screens, smaller vessels departed from the main ship. "Just like we planned," James said, checking his weapons. He looked at Lyra. "Ready?" She nodded, creating an energy field around her staff. Together. The first explosion shook the building as dropships landed outside the Academy. Empire troops, in their black armor decorated with glowing red lines, burst through the defensive barriers. "Now," James shouted. Their mixed team moved as one. Human soldiers provided cover fire, while Asteri refugees used their energy abilities to disrupt the Empire's weapons. In the center of it all, James and Lyra fought side by side, their movements perfectly synchronized. An Empire commander spotted Lyra and shouted in the Asteri language, "The traitor princess, take her alive." 3 soldiers charged at Lyra, their weapons crackling with red energy. James moved without thinking, jumping between them and Lyra. He blocked their attacks using the defensive moves Lyra had taught him. Lyra spun around him, her staff glowing with intense blue energy. "No one touches him," she shouted, releasing a wave of power that sent the soldiers flying. More Empire troops poured in. James and Lyra found themselves surrounded, standing back to back. "Like in training?" James asked, a small smile on his face despite the danger. "Like in training," Lyra agreed. Her free hand found his for a moment, their fingers intertwining. The touch made her skin pulse with the soulmate pattern they now both knew so well. They moved together in the dance-like fighting style they had created. James's human combat techniques flowed perfectly with Lyra's energy manipulation. Where one defended, the other attacked. When one stepped back, the other moved forward. The Empire soldiers had never seen anything like it. They couldn't predict or counter attacks that combined 2 different fighting styles so smoothly. "How is this possible?" one Empire commander shouted. "No human should be able to fight with Asteri energy." "You're wrong about humans," Lyra called back, sending another energy blast. "They don't steal our power, they help us make it stronger." As if to prove her point, James caught her energy staff and spun her in a move they had practiced countless times. The momentum allowed Lyra to release a powerful energy wave that disabled the Empire's weapons. Without their advanced technology, the Empire troops were quickly overwhelmed by the combined human and Asteri forces. "The dropships are retreating," someone announced. On the screens, they watched the Empire vessels return to their main ship. Victory cheers filled the air, but James and Lyra knew this was just the beginning. The Empire wouldn't give up so easily. In the quiet moment after battle, James found Lyra tending to injured soldiers, both human and Asteri. "You fought well," he said softly. Lyra looked up at him, her silver eyes shining. "We fought well. Together." Her skin glowed with both the soulmate pattern and something new, a fierce, protective light he'd never seen before. "Together," James agreed, helping her with the injured. Around them, humans and Asteri worked side by side, barriers breaking down in the wake of their shared victory. They had proved that humans and Asteri could not only coexist, but make each other stronger. But as they watched the Empire's ship still looming in the sky, they knew the real battle was just beginning. 3 days after the first battle, the Empire's massive ship still hadn't moved from Earth's orbit. But something was changing up there. Strange energy readings kept appearing on the Academy's monitors. "Something's wrong," Lyra said, studying the readings. Her skin flickered with worry patterns. "These energy signatures, they're chaotic. Like the Empire's ship is sick." James stood beside her, looking at the swirling patterns on the screen. They reminded him of how Lyra's skin looked when she was confused or conflicted. Could it be some kind of weapon? Before Lyra could answer, the communication system crackled to life. A face appeared on the main screen, an older Asteri male with deep blue skin and tired silver eyes. "Uncle," Lyra gasped. "Lyra, my dear niece," the man said, his skin pulsing with urgent patterns. "We don't have much time. The Empire, it's falling apart." General Roberts stepped forward. "Explain." "The footage of the battle reached our people," Lyra's uncle said. "They saw humans and Asteri fighting together. They saw Lyra combining her energy with human combat techniques. It's causing a revolution in thinking." James watched Lyra's skin brighten with hope. "The people are rebelling." "More than that," her uncle continued. "The noble houses are divided. Many want to end this war before it truly begins. They've seen that humans aren't the savages the Empire claimed, but the hardliners." His image flickered. "They're planning something desperate. You must." The transmission cut off as alarms blared through the Academy. On another screen, they watched energy build up around the Empire's ship. "They're charging weapons," someone shouted. "No," Lyra said, her eyes wide. "That's not a weapon charge. That's..." She grabbed James's arm. "They're overloading the ship's energy core. If it explodes in orbit, Earth would be devastated." James finished, understanding her horror. Lyra's skin pulsed with determination. "I can stop it. The core runs on Asteri energy. If I can get close enough." "You mean we can stop it," James corrected her. His hand found hers. "I'm not letting you go alone." General Roberts quickly authorized a small ship. As they prepared to launch, more Asteri refugees stepped forward to join them. Among them was Sarah, an Asteri engineer who had been helping Earth understand their technology. "The hardliners would rather destroy everything than see change," Sarah said as their ship lifted off. "But we can use the Empire's own energy network against them." The small ship approached the massive Empire vessel. Up close, they could see energy sparking along its hull, the sign of internal conflict between those trying to overload the core and those trying to stop it. "There," Lyra pointed to a docking port. "That leads to the energy control center." Their ship docked successfully, but alarms immediately sounded. Empire troops loyal to the hardliners rushed to stop them. "Go," James told Lyra and Sarah. "Get to the control center. We'll hold them off." Lyra hesitated for just a moment. Then she did something that surprised everyone. She kissed James quickly but firmly. "Stay alive," she whispered, her skin glowing with the soulmate pattern. "Always," he promised. As Lyra and Sarah ran toward the control center, James and the others formed a defensive line. They used their combined fighting style to hold back the Empire troops. But more kept coming. Through his earpiece, James could hear Lyra and Sarah working frantically to stop the core overload. Energy surged through the ship, making the walls pulse with light. Almost there, Lyra's voice came through. The core is stabilizing, but... A massive explosion rocked the ship, cutting off her words. James's heart stopped as emergency lights flashed everywhere. "Lyra?" He called into his comm. "Lyra." Only static answered him. Smoke filled the corridors of the Empire's ship as James fought his way toward the energy control center. His heart pounded with each step, hoping to hear Lyra's voice on the comm again. "Commander," one of his team members called out. "The ship's power is fluctuating. We need to leave." "Not without Lyra," James said firmly, pushing forward. They reached a sealed door, its control panel damaged by the explosion. James remembered what Lyra had taught him about Asteri technology and placed his hand on the panel. The door recognized the trace amounts of her energy that had transferred to him through their training and slid open. Inside the control center, James found chaos. Equipment sparked and crackled with wild energy. Sarah lay unconscious near the door, but alive. And in the center of the room, Lyra stood with her hands pressed against the main energy core. "Lyra." James ran toward her, but stopped when she shook her head. "Don't come closer," she warned. Her skin was glowing brighter than he'd ever seen, pulsing with effort. "The core is still unstable. I'm holding it together, but barely." James saw what she meant. Energy from the core was flowing into her body. Where it touched her skin, it left burning marks. "You're hurting yourself." "It's the only way." Lyra's silver eyes met his, filled with pain and determination. "The hardliners damaged the core too much. If I let go, it will explode. But if I can absorb enough of the unstable energy, it will kill you." James stepped forward despite her warning. Better one life than millions on Earth. Lyra's skin flickered with the soulmate pattern, but it was weaker now. "James, I'm sorry. I wanted more time." "No." James moved to her side. "You taught me that Asteri energy responds to emotion, right? That it grows stronger with connection." Without hesitation, he placed his hands next to hers on the core. "Then use our connection." "James, don't. Humans can't channel Asteri energy." "It will." But James didn't let go. "I've been training with you for months. Your energy is part of me now, just like my fighting style is part of you. We're stronger together, remember?" As if responding to his words, the energy patterns in Lyra's skin began to shift. Where their hands touched the core, their energies combined, her Asteri power and his human strength flowing together. "It's working," Lyra whispered in amazement. The burning marks on her skin began to fade as James helped bear the load. "The core is stabilizing." Around them, the ship's alarms quieted. The wild energy surges calmed, flowing into natural patterns instead of chaotic bursts. Sarah regained consciousness and quickly worked at the control panel. "The core is returning to normal levels," she reported. "But something's different." James felt it too. The energy flowing through him and Lyra had changed them both. His hands glowed faintly, like an echo of her light, while her skin now pulsed with some of his steady human strength. When they finally let go of the core, they caught each other as their legs gave out. James held Lyra close, feeling their heartbeats sink. "You could have died," Lyra said softly, touching his glowing hands. "So could you." James smiled tiredly. "I guess we're both stubborn." Over their comms, they heard cheering. The revolution had succeeded. With the core stabilized and the hardliners' plan failed, the moderate Asteri had taken control of the ship. "It's over?" James asked. Lyra shook her head, her skin glowing with a new pattern, one that combined her light with his strength. "No," she said. "It's just beginning." Together, they looked out the control room's window at Earth below and the stars beyond, knowing their actions had changed both their peoples forever. 1 year after the Empire's failed attack on Earth, the Academy's training yard was filled with an unusual sight. Human and Asteri students practiced together, their movements combining both cultures' fighting styles. At the center of it all stood James and Lyra, now married and joint combat instructors. Remember, Lyra called out to her students, her skin glowing with gentle teaching patterns. Strength isn't just about power. It's about understanding. James watched proudly as a young human girl successfully created a small energy field, while her Asteri partner helped her maintain it. After the events on the Empire's ship, they had discovered that humans could indeed learn to channel Asteri energy. They just needed the right teachers. "Your father would be proud," Lyra's uncle said, approaching them. As the new leader of the reformed Asteri government, he had come to Earth for the first graduation ceremony of their joint combat school. Lyra's skin brightened at his words. "He dreamed of peace between our peoples. I don't think even he imagined this, though." She looked at James, her silver eyes soft with love. James took her hand, his own skin now permanently marked with faint traces of her light, a result of their bond during the core crisis. "We've come a long way from those first awkward training sessions." Speaking of training, Lyra's uncle smiled. "Your news has spread quite a bit of excitement among both peoples." They both looked toward the Academy's medical wing, where human and Asteri doctors had been working together for months. Lyra's skin pulsed with the special pattern they discovered was unique to expecting mothers. But hers had an unusual twist to it, mixing human and Asteri traits. "The first human Asteri child," James said softly, still amazed. "The doctors say she'll have both our strengths, and hopefully not both our stubbornness." Lyra laughed, making her skin sparkle with joy. Their moment was interrupted by excited shouts from the training yard. One of their advanced students, a human boy named Michael, had successfully completed a complex Asteri energy form. "Just like you taught me," James smiled at Lyra, remembering their own late-night training sessions. Together, they walked back to their students. The yard was filled with the glow of Asteri energy fields mixing with human combat techniques. What had once seemed impossible was now becoming normal. "Tomorrow's graduation ceremony will be historic," Lyra's uncle said. "The first class of truly united warriors, Earth's defense forces and the Asteri peacekeepers, training as one." James looked at the students, seeing how naturally they worked together. They don't see human or Asteri anymore. They just see fellow warriors. "Fellow friends," Lyra corrected him, her skin showing the pattern that meant family. She placed a hand on her growing belly. "Our daughter will grow up in a very different world than we did." As if in response, both their skins glowed brighter, James's faint patterns matching Lyra's stronger ones. Their child would be something entirely new in the universe, just like their love had been. "Ready for another class?" James asked his wife. Lyra's silver eyes sparkled. "Always. But this time, I'm teaching you something new." "Oh," James raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "Asteri lullabies," she grinned. "You'll need to know them soon." As they walked back to their students hand in hand, their matching light patterns pulsing with love and hope, both remembered that first day in the training room. Neither could have imagined then that a simple combat lesson would lead to this, a new future for both their peoples, and a love that literally glowed. Behind them, the sun rose over the academy, its light catching the shimmer of energy fields as humans and Asteri trained together, preparing for a future that was brighter than anyone had dreamed possible.